Hey folks, this is Best in Slot and welcome to some exciting Planet Zoo news. There is a brand new update coming to the game, update 1.3, hence the smiley face. Now we didn't get any pictures for this, that's why I've included this lovely screenshot from a while ago of a very happy bear. But basically we're going to go through the entire article today, we're going to read it all, we're going to break it all down, we're going to discuss it as we go through. If you want to read it in your own time, I will link it in the description of this video down below, do go check it out. So, heyo Zookeepers, I'll never get over this, I love it. Heyo Zookeepers, we're pleased to reveal update 1.3, coming to Planet Zoo 25th of August 2020, free update 1.3. This free update contains community requested features and some exciting new additions to Planet Zoo. This post will go in depth, they're not kidding, about the upcoming additions and how it will affect your gameplay. So when they say in depth, they really mean primarily for this bit. This is a unit. This is all about the animal colour variation. We learned a little bit about this last week, but we definitely didn't have this level of depth. I'm going to timestamp this video with all the different news updates. If you want to skip forward to certain things, you can do that. We are going to go through this entire section and read this all now, so buckle in, basically. So, I'm going to mark this paragraph by paragraph. We're excited to introduce our differences, come on Planet Zoo, in animal colour, which will make it easier to identify individuals around your zoos. And that's really the main reason I'm excited about this. Give each animal just a little bit more individuality and personality. We've done so by sticking to known and realistic colours, and by improving upon the general appearance of groups and herds with subtler differences in colours. That's kind of like the bison we saw last time. So far so good. Second paragraph. We've added a way for you to see colour and pattern information from the animal market trading window, to make it easier for you to carry out your breeding and population goals, and to provide our colourblind players, with information. This includes the scientific terms for the colour morphs we use in-game, such as if an albino is classed as albino, leucistic, or simply another colour. So the actual interesting thing about this for me is being able to see the colour variation in the animal market trading window right there. So you'll load up the market and not only going to see colour information but pattern information as well. So if you're trying to build a really exciting varied zoo, then it's going to be much easier. We're going to talk about the breeding specifically in a minute as well, so if you're trying to breed a baby with specific patterns and specific colours, which people will definitely do, then that's going to be a lot easier because of this update to the animal market window. I'm glad that there's differentiation between albino, I say albino, why am I saying albino and leucistic as well. They're very subtle differences, but generally speaking in game, the difference tends to be that the albinos have red eyes or pink eyes and the leucistic animals don't. Next bit, the availability of inheritable colour-morph genes in the animal market population is now variable per species. In particular, 6% approximately of the jaguar population are now black jaguars. Bird and reptile albinism or leucism are now more likely than before, in line with natural results. And llama colour-morphs are extremely common and follow the same breeding rules as albinos, with an additional set of colour variations. So, let's look at all three of these. It seems jaguars then are going to be much more likely to be melanistic. That makes a lot of sense. Black panthers, of course, came about primarily because of black jaguars and how common melanism, probably 6% approximately, how common melanism is in jaguar populations. And of course, that's how we get black panthers. There's other animals as well that are black panthers, but I think most people think of a jaguar for it, and it's good that that's now getting reflected in the game. Birds and reptiles, your crocodiles, your ostriches, etc. are going to be much more likely to be leucistic or albino, which I guess is in line with natural results, as it says. And our llamas are going to get lots and lots of colour variation, lots of albinos, maybe some melanistic ones, additional sets of colour variation. So we should see lots of variety in our llama herds, maybe more so than most other animals, which is pretty cool as well. In addition to the colour-morph genetics, your existing zoo animals carry existing genetic information for both colour and pattern. So every animal in your game has a pattern gene and a colour gene, is how I'm taking that basically. This information applies colour variation on top of the animal's existing textures and allows for subtle and gradual changes in colour between different animals. What I'm taking this is to say is that this system is being retroactively applied to all your existing animals. So when you log into the game post update 1.3, a lot of your animals should change colour suddenly. It might be a little confusing at first, because they've all got those genetics that tells them what colour and what pattern to have. When animals breed, this is pretty cool, their offspring create colour and pattern values in a range around the average of their parents, most often looking similar to at least one of their parents. However, there is now a small chance that colour or pattern will pick a value far away from the parent colour, perhaps looking more like a distant relative. So you could breed two brown coloured wolves with very similar patterns, and they could pop out, a baby that looks exactly like the parents. Or there's a small chance that you'd have, say, a genetic mutation of some description and it would look, bright white or something like that. Or maybe it more resembles the great-grandparent in the lineage because that dormant gene has been activated. A little bit unpredictability in the system should make for some really interesting and surprising results. And again, just give each animal a little bit of personality and individuality, which is really the most important thing. The team researched animal colour and pattern variation and found that documentation was rare and highly variable in quality depending on the species. We've done our absolute best to stick to research photo reference and do them justice. With this in mind, we've tried to avoid coloration that only applies to single individual animals, as the contrast of colour would begin to look strange in groups. So I think the idea there is, let's say, I don't really have a great example of an animal, but let's say the wombat, okay? This isn't a true example, but I just needed an animal. Let's say the wombat. Let's say 99.9% of wombats look identical, but there's a rare genetic mutation that makes wombats bright green. Fluorescent green, okay? What they're saying is they wouldn't include that in the game, I suppose, because there would be such a contrast of colour and so strange in contrast to the default sort of style, basically. Yeah? That they wouldn't want to include it in the game, essentially, right? Right. We have not added colour variation to exhibit animals, partly because their environments are so dense it's hard to distinguish minor variation at a distance. The highly saturated and often very distinct colours and patterns would be more suited to additional colour morphs. So there is a difference between the colour variation and the pattern variation and the colour morphs. The colour morphs seems to be albinism, I should say, leucism and melanism. Those are the colour morphs. They're the ones that change the entire colouring of the animal entirely. So for the llamas, they're very likely to be albinos, leucistic or melanistic. Then there's the patterns. So what they're suggesting, I believe, is that in the future maybe we'll get more variation in our exhibit animals, but through colour morphs rather than, subtle pattern and texture differences and stuff like that. That's only a very slight suggestion, so we'll have to wait and see. But the colour morphs are these big changes, and those big changes are the ones that make more sense to exhibit animals. For example, maybe you've got a toad, and instead of like a varying pattern and texture that looks subtly different, you'd have a green one, and then you'd have like a big bright yellow one or something like that. You'd have like really strong, impactful changes for each individual animal. That would be cool down the line. Hopefully that's something we get in the future. Right, that's the big boy done. There's the word done. Big boy is done, but we've got lots of exciting information to look at, so let's move on to part 2 with animal food management. The team are adding an animal food management page to provide you with one location to see all of the animals and habitats in your zoo and what food grades the animals are being given. In this menu, you'll be able to see the projected food costs for the year, very important, how many keepers are assigned to look after your animals in a habitat, how much time has passed since the animals were last fed, whether your animals are hungry or not, the total cost per year for feeding all of your animals, the total number of keepers, the total number of keepers assigned to habitats, the total number of keepers assigned not to habitats. You'll be able to change the food grades for your animals in the menu. This menu has been designed with community feedback in mind to make it easier for you to access and stay on top of food management around your zoo for multiple habitats. This sounds like a huge increase in quality of life. I don't know about you guys, but I oft forget to change the food quality for my animals, because to do it you have to go into each individual exhibit and then to the animal and then change the food grade. It's a lot of work. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do if you're not on it right from the start, and because you keep researching these animals and getting better food as you go through the game, you have to keep going back to old exhibits and stuff like that. This should make it substantially easier to manage. Also, just being able to control our keepers from here and see who's not assigned to habitats, which habitats need love, stuff like that is going to be a lot better as well. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but that is a massive quality of life increase for anyone who's playing on campaign, anyone who's playing franchise mode, stuff like that. We have a new sandbox map. Now this is where things get a little bit interesting. We'll talk about this in a minute. But there is a brand new landscape set in a location set to be revealed soon, with new terrain textures, surroundings, and sky. No, just keep that in mind as we move through the video, that's all I'm saying. We also have vending machines. Fun story, literally when I was recording the order video the other day, as I was just sort of playing around, I said to myself, you know what I really want here is a vending machine. I forgot they weren't in the game. I went and searched for vending machines to try and include them, but they weren't there. But now they will be. Vending machines have been heavily requested, so we're introducing them into Planet Zoo. These work as a cheaper alternative for your guests to help satisfy their needs, but it's important to note that the food and drink from vending machines won't satisfy as much as an item from a shop. They require power to work, so make sure you place them around power sources. Our veteran Planet players should know that the placement of vending machines differs to Planet Coaster. In Planet Zoo they are placed like a path extra, such as a bench or a bin, and not like a shop with a path connection, which makes sense. They're not that huge. I wouldn't want to have a path leading up to them now. Now how it'll work is, well, you'll know if you place the bin or a bench, but I'll talk about it anyway. You go to put it down, it kind of like sticks to the side of the path. You can't put it, and you can put it in the middle sometimes, but it wants to stick to the edge of the path, basically. And then you can sort of shovel it left or right and stuff like that. It means you can't grab them and X and then move them perfectly like that, but you've got a decent amount of control anyway. This is just a nice little quality of life change, makes our zoos feel more like zoos again. And maybe at the start of franchise mode, a lot of people, we've talked about this a lot in the past or back in the day, but building shops is quite a big risk at the start of franchise mode because staff costs are really high and it can tend to take you into negative money really quickly. Maybe vending machines are that halfway house that we really need to kind of bridge the gap up to the shops, kind of satisfy those needs a little bit of our guests, but also not, you know, bankrupt ourselves in the process. It's going to be interesting to see how they fit into the meta of Planet Zoo. Staff management, multi-select. We're near the end now, I promise. Thanks to community feedback, we're adding in multi-select to the staff management UI, meaning that you can now select more than one member of staff at the same time. With this, you will now be able to train multiple staff at once, give multiple staff pay rises, assign multiple staff to work zones, and fire multiple people at once. Not a humongous deal, but just a nice little change, basically. Just a nice little quality of life improvement there, not much to say on that one. Quality of life. We've been reading your community suggestions, and thanks to your feedback we have created a variety of new features. So there's two main quality of life features that they put at the end. You can dismiss functionality for zoo alerts. You'll now be able to dismiss zoo alerts using the new trash can icon, which is handy because, let's say for example in my zoo at the moment, to give an example, I've got some educational boards up with certain animals on, but you can't see the animals from those boards. They're there more as a decoration item in like a preview area before the exhibit. And I keep getting notifications about this because it's an education board showing an animal that they can't actually see, and the game doesn't like that. It seems we'll now be able to just trash that away and never deal with it again, which will be lovely. We also have a scenery light toggle. You'll now have the ability to turn on or off scenery lights all the time, instead of them just coming on automatically at night. Lights will not work without power unless they're solar powered, in which case they still have power, so I'm confused by that. But that's good. We can have our lights on in the daytime, seemingly, which is interesting, but also if you want to have a dark area at night time, I don't know why you would want to, but I'm sure there's a reason. Maybe, for example, okay, we've got reasons. Let's say there's things like the butterflies or the stars or something you want to use for decoration, but not necessarily have it light up. It's just there to be part of your decoration and your build. At the moment, they always light up, but now we'll be able to toggle them off. It's pretty cool. Timed scenarios. With this update, we are adding a new free timed scenario in Estonia. Make sure you check it out. Timed tasks you with completing objectives against the clock, awarding bronze, silver and gold medals based on how long it takes for you to complete a scenario. We'll be providing you with a list of objectives, but unlike career scenarios, these objectives must be maintained once they're achieved, or they'll become incomplete again, which is good because although I did try not to do it, There were times in the campaign where it would be easy to kind of just shove something in really awkwardly, and it would get you to gold or to silver, and then you could just get rid of it, you know what I mean? So that's pretty interesting. A new timed challenge in Planet Zoo, speedy Planet Zoo building. We're definitely going to be playing that on the 25th when it comes out. The final bit of information though is maybe the most exciting, more creativity. Keep in mind, as I said earlier, there's a new sandbox mode, new sandbox map on the way. We're thrilled to bring you additional creativity with new scenery assets. The foliage includes plants and smaller sapling trees, very cool, to complement their larger cousins. This should be an E, by the way, just saying. I know I'm annoying, but it should be, I can't help it, okay? We're adding in 3 new paths, 3 new paths, 3, we got 2 last time. Did we get 2 last time? No, we got 3 last time. Or we got 4 last time, I can't remember. And the free, it's 4 last time. And the free rocks have been made to complement our new biome. See, there they got it right. Update 1.3 will be paired with bug fixes and gameplay tweaks that are designed to improve your Planet Zoo experience. You'll get the full list of update notes when 1.3 goes live on 25th of August. And of course, right here on the channel, I will bring you that entire list on the 25th of August. Thanks to all of you for providing us with feedback, suggestions and support. You've been absolutely fantastic. Shut up, phone. Isn't that lovely? So, I want to talk about this for a minute. So, the only time, we've got 3 rocks, 3 paths, 3 foliage and stuff like that. The last time that happened was with the South America pack. We got a bunch of new trees and new plants, we got some new pathing and stuff like that. And we got new rocks as well to complement the South America pack. Oh, so it sounds to me, and we don't know for sure, we'll have to wait until the 25th, but it sounds like there's probably a DLC on the way for the game as well. It has been a little while now since the South America pack came out. Now, of course, things got delayed a little bit, I'm sure, thanks to COVID and, you know, the apocalypse we're currently going through. But that sounds very promising. I don't think they've ever just added rocks or trees to the game like this. It's always come along with the DLC, either the Arctic pack or the South America pack. So, not 100%, but it sounds very likely like there's a new DLC on the way. Now, before we go, boop. Really cool update, lots of exciting things. The colour updates are really cool. Again, more great quality of life updates. He needs a hat, I think. Well, she needs a hat. I think it's a lass. There we go. Maybe like a bow tie. I know, it's crazy that Frontier haven't hired me as an artist yet. There you go. Very quickly then, let's speculate. Let's assume there's a DLC coming. I am 99% sure based on what we've heard today. New biome and stuff like that, what would it be? What is your likely bet for a new DLC? I've wagered for a while that Australia seems the most likely. We're missing some key Australian animals, you know, kangaroos, wombats, coyotes, stuff like that. There's a bunch of Australian animals out there that we could possibly include. I want to see a baby koala. So Australia would be my personal bet. Could be a European pack. Europe definitely needs a little bit of love in the game. It could be something even bigger. It could be underwater themed or bird themed or something like that. Hard to tell, but it does seem to be attributed to a particular biome. You know, they're bringing in new rocks that suit that biome. Which is interesting, because would they do that for Australia? We have the savannah and the desert rocks. Do we need another type of rock to match with Australia? I'm not so sure on that. So, where in the world would have a new rock type to suit the biome perfectly? That's interesting. Or maybe it's going to be like a cracked rock or something like that to suit a more like rugged Australian outback kind of environment. I don't know. I'm very curious. Lots of trees and saplings as well. Maybe like a swampy pack or something? I don't know, let me know what you think. It's probably not going to be heavy on the big green forest. We did just have the South America pack. We've had an Arctic pack and a rainforesty pack. I think like an Outback Australia pack makes a lot of sense after those two, but who knows? Who knows? That's my personal bet. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think that new pack will be if it does indeed exist? But I think we can, oh my god, safely assume that it indeed does. Very, very exciting. I'll bring you all the news on the 25th as we get it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're excited about this, and you know, the free update again, even if there is a DLC and you don't buy it, you will get a lovely free update. Feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. That would make you a super cool human being, and who doesn't want to be a super cool human being? I'll see you lovely folks next time. Cheers, much love as always. Bye bye.